Anderson Foundation is simple: to advance the legacy of this man, to build upon his values, values that are so closely aligned with green biz, with circularity and the circular economy. And so we're thrilled to be here with you all today. I want to acknowledge two of the trustees of our foundation, my mother and father, Mary Ann Lanier and Jamie Lanier. They're also values that are so closely aligned with the Biomimicry Institute, founded by Janine Benyus, that has been doing tremendous work to get the discipline of biomimicry spread throughout the world. A number of years ago, we committed to a long-term partnership with the Biomimicry Institute to infuse their design challenges with more resources and ultimately a grand prize in the amount of $100,000 to go to the best young aspiring entrepreneurs working on biomimetic designs, products, and new businesses. We believe that this program can help incentivize these new businesses to arise, can be the seeds planted of businesses that prove what my grandfather so fiercely believed, that when done right, business can be a true force for good in the world. This will be the fourth Ray of Hope prize that we give out. And I am always so inspired by the teams who come through this challenge and compete for this prize. Yesterday, I had the honor of judging the 7 teams that you will be learning about here in just a moment. And once again, I was blown away by their brilliance, their passion, and their humility, their willingness to say, we don't have all the answers, but nature does. And now I'd like to invite my friend, my collaborator, my partner, Beth Rattner, Executive Director of the Biomimicry Institute.
Thank you, John. Hello. Instead of biomimicry, I think I want to sing Purple Rain instead. Would that be better? You don't want to hear me sing. Biomimicry has many, many different value propositions, but the biggest one is that by looking to nature, we can get to radically circular, sustainable designs faster, because we already know that the designs work. So when you look at teams like these, they don't look like your average business. It's because they're looking in a fundamentally different way. They are looking at biological blueprints, as Janine Benyus calls it. And these blueprints have produced a world that's working for all species, not just one. So if we're going to get there, we have to think radically different. And that begins by looking at a world that's already coherent and already works. So I'm going to tell you about these 7 teams, starting with team number 1 that looked at the problem of leaky pipes. 20% of all of the clean water in the world is lost every single day due to leaky pipes. If we could reclaim just half of that, we could support an additional 1 billion people. It's a phenomenal figure. Team Watchtower out of MIT went about to solve this. So they looked at some biological inspiration to get there. The first guy is the blind cavefish that literally is blind, but it has channels of water underneath its skin that sense different pressure levels in the water, so it knows where it is. An octopus has to go through very, very tiny crevices if it's going to survive. And the jellyfish has that umbrella-like top, which acts as a vortex, so that when it swims, it uses far less energy. What they created was a robot that you can pop right into the municipal water system, and just like the blind cavefish, it is feeling for pressure. And when it feels pressure, that's a leak. It puts down a little sensor. Now all of a sudden, the maintenance crews know exactly where to dig within 1 foot. At the same time, that robot has no joints, right? It has no hard surfaces, so it can maneuver rapidly in and out. And it has that same umbrella top, so it just uses the pressure in the pipe to move forward, minimal energy. Problem number 2, mosquitoes. As our weather warms, we're going to have more and more pools of warm water. That means more mosquitoes. We're already looking at 600,000 people a year that die from malaria. You add in Zika, you add in encephalitis, West Nile virus, this is only going to get worse. Team UPod out of upstate New York wanted to go ahead and ask that question. So how does nature control insects? The answer is the bladderwort plant. It's carnivorous. It literally has those hollow pods at the end of its roots that suck in and digest small creatures like larvae. At the same time, there's also the baleen of the whale, which filters out things that it doesn't want to eat. And the squid has jet propulsion. And what they created was kind of like a Roomba for the water. It goes, you can plop it into any pond, any stream of water, and it's going to go out and seek and find the larvae. It's going to suck it in, it's going to filter out all of the parts that isn't the mosquito larvae, and it's going to crush them inside with a series of mini vortices, no chemicals. Now all of a sudden, you can put this into a rice field, and you don't have to use chemicals. You can put it in a pond, no chemicals. This is a big deal, and it's solar powered. Number 3, idling trucks use a gallon of gas every hour. And most of the time, truckers have to stop every 8 hours. I don't know if you know that, but now we do. The problem is that if they turn off their engines, then the cab gets cold or the cab gets too hot, so they just leave it running. We're at this place right now where we can't afford to have that. Trucking is a huge source of greenhouse gas emissions. So this team, General, out of Cal State Long Beach, asked the question, which I think a lot of us have wondered, which is, trucks are driving down the road anyway, they're creating a lot of wind, why can't they capture that wind? The answer is you can. How does nature maximize wind flow? The albatross, this is my albatross impression, wide wingspan, very narrow, allows for a lot of lift with minimal amounts of drag. The desert snail uses the Venturi effect. It's going ahead and forcing a lot of air, a lot of wind through a very narrow surface, which increases the pressure and also the velocity. And those are the dermal denticles of the shark, which is channeling water and air in a single direction. So what they've created looks deceptively simple. It looks like a fan, but it's not your ordinary fan. You can see the geometry of the albatross wings in the fan itself. You can see the Venturi effect of the hole in front of the fan, and at the same time, the whole unit is coated with dermal denticles. After 8 hours of driving, there's enough power to keep that cab cool or hot or whatever they may need, solely off of the battery pack that this fan has been powering. This is a frozen vineyard. Every year worldwide, the wine industry loses $10 billion due to frozen crops. Frost hit crops. If you start to think about vegetables, fruit, other crops, this number just grows. Frost is going to become more and more unpredictable as our weather becomes more unpredictable. Team Habari out of Utrecht in the Netherlands said and asked that question, well, how does nature stay warm? The answer is pockets of air. So this is the giant ground cell. You can see him, that's a person, just for context, like giant ground cell. It's got these leaves that it never sheds. And so when the temperature drops below a certain level, the leaves turn and they close up. They form a pocket of air. Now all of a sudden the little baby buds are protected because of that air pocket. And penguins work exactly the same way. Short, dense, chaotic hairs trap the air. Now all of a sudden the little guy stays warm. And that's a moonflower, which affected the design of what they created, which is effectively a giant, giant umbrella. It's like 32 feet by 32 feet square. And as soon as that thing deploys, it creates an air pocket, warming the air between the ground and the top of the umbrella, protecting it also from additional elements like rain or even hail. It's activated completely autonomously by being connected to a weather station that says frost is coming, so it gets deployed. And it's got that moonflower design, so it's really efficient. Heat island effect. This is really powerful because you can see exactly where the sun is hitting is where it's almost 90 degrees hotter than the ambient temperature. At the same time, this team asked, so how does nature stay cool? Especially if you're a stationary object like a cactus. So this is the wavy cactus or the brain cactus, and it has those deep ridges. You've probably seen them before that go all the way around the cactus itself. So when one side of that ridge is getting heat, the other side is getting shade. So it's hot and cold, which is creating air currents that take the heat up, out, away from the core of the cactus. That is the Saharan silver ant. And if you look under microscopy, you can see that those hairs actually look like giant triangles. So the heat and the sun is being reflected off of two different angles. This is phalanx insulation, and what they've decided to do is have two different layers. So that first layer looks just like the Saharan silver ant. It's got that reflective layer, but then it has those indentations just like the wavy cactus, so that it has got shade being cast in multiple different directions. Inside the dent is a hole that goes to the second layer, which is porous. So that porous layer is collecting dew and condensation. So now as the air goes up and rises, it's automatically cooling. This is Varthur Lake in Bangalore, and it is on fire. And I don't know if you can tell from this picture, but that's a grass fire that's being fed by methane, raw sewage from the lake. It is essentially a series of methane explosions that get so bad that sometimes the lake itself is on fire. And firefighters do not know how to put out a lake. And the reason why is because, as the UN has told us, 80% of wastewater goes untreated. In India, that number goes up to 93%. It is being, and yet at the same time, people are still using them. And so we have this massive problem with dysentery and diarrhea as well. EcoSTP, sewage treatment plant, decide this is actually a business opportunity as much as anything else, not to mention a service opportunity. This is a team of professionals who felt like nature knows how to process dense amounts of nutrients. They looked to the cow. The cow has 4 chambers. It deals with the grasses first, then the bacteria kick in. Then it separates out those liquids. Some get absorbed, some get dispelled, and then finally the enzymes kick in to process the protein. This is exactly what their unit is going to do. But before we leave this biology slide, I want to point out that's the inside of a cow's stomach. It's got a lot of chambers. It's got these rough walls, and there's a lot of surface area for the bacteria to adhere. This is what makes their design so different from other digestive systems that exist out there. This is their solution, multiple chambers, lots and lots of surface area. Same thing for the bacteria to adhere. You've got a settling tank first, one-time addition of the anaerobic bacteria. Then at the end, it's turning it all into gray water, which is amazing, right? Bacteria is creating potable, almost water, and it really becomes potable by the time it goes through a wetland, which is where microbes and plants and other aquatic animals are helping to digest it. Water is the new gold. The last team is a really different kind of a team. It's a medical device team, but the technology can be used for lots of things. It's the concept of fouling or debris collection. It's also really relevant for any kind of pipes, any kind of shipping, right, where fouling becomes an activity. Oops, but it's also true for our arteries. When arteries get clogged, you need a bypass. And the way that bypass surgery happens right now is they take a vein from some other part of your body, and they literally pass it around the part that's clogged. The problem is you're already in a weakened state, and if you're a dialysis patient, you need this like every 2 or 3 years. That's about 100,000 patients a year, costing the medical industry about $2 billion. This is Team Aruga out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a team of professionals who thought, you know what, the holy grail is to create a synthetic, durable implant. And it's been tried since the 1960s, and no one's ever been able to do it because it always casts a blood clot, which you do not want in cardiovascular situations. But nature knows how to deal with removing debris, and the answer is wrinkles. Every time a surface wrinkles and then straightens, it's literally creating this effect of casting off the debris and renewing the surface each time. You see it in leaves sometimes. You also see it in the muscles, the threads of the muscles, because if it's got debris, it can't attach to the rock. We also see it in our own arteries. Sorry. Their surface technology works exactly that same way. It's dynamic. It's a topography that literally changes with the patient's heartbeat. So every time that person's heart beats, it's cleaning the slate. Whew. How many biologists are in the room, by the way? So you don't even know if any of that was real or not. It's all true. It's all true. All right, let's bring them out. Team Watchtower. Team UPod. Team Genrail. Team Habari. Phalanx Insulation. Eco SDP and Team Aruga.
Now, before I tell you our second place prize winner and the grand prize Ray of Hope winner, I want to urge you to come and visit with these teams at the afternoon reception on the 6th floor. You can learn more about what they're doing. It would be an honor to them and to us for you to spend time with them. The second place prize winning team, winning $25,000 generously contributed by an anonymous donor, is Team Aruga Technologies. And the winner of this year's $100,000 Ray of Hope prize is Watchtower Robotics. Thank you.
Amazing, amazing.
Thank you.
Amazing. Thanks you to all of the teams who worked so incredibly hard over the course of, frankly, an entire year. They have put in their heart and souls into all of this, and just because they didn't win today doesn't mean a thing, frankly. They're all going to go on to do amazing things. So again, thank you for your time, and remember to get outside and appreciate that we already have a very sustainable world. Thanks.
Really love it. Thanks a lot.